Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kemza James. For our new subscribers and old subscribers, you're all welcome. So in today's video, we are going to be learning how to sew a halter neck dress. So we've actually cut out the pattern in a previous video, which I'm going to be linking up. So do well to watch that if you've not seen that yet. So today basically is simply about the sewing, right? So I have my skirt panels. So here we have our skirt panels, then our back panels. I've gone ahead to cut my lining piece, and for my front panels, the upper front, I've gone ahead to cut out my wording. This is simply to make the chest area padded. So this is what I'm using, my wording to pad the chest area, right? So you can actually omit the wording and use breast cup instead. It's totally up to you. You can as well fuse your patterns with hairstay or anything you like. That's totally fine, but this is what is available with me at the moment, so that's why I'm using it. So let's get into sewing. So I'm going to keep aside every other panel. I'm just picking out the front panels alone, right? This is my center front, right? So I'm just trimming out this wording that I have here. I'm just trying to trim it to be exactly the same as my panels, right? So I have one of the side panels. I'm going to align that, then I'll start sewing from the hem. So basically what I'm going to be doing is just to be joining my front panel together, right? For you to be sewing this dress, it means you have prior knowledge on sewing. So guys, now I'm going to be joining the skirts, right? So I'll be joining right side of the lining to the right side of the skirt, starting from the hem point, right? I'm using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Lest I forget, right? I actually cut my lining piece shorter than my skirt on the hem side. That's because I want to turn over and have my fabric showing on the inside a bit. So when I'm done, I'll show you what I mean. So at this point, basically what I'm going to be doing is just to join the lining to to the fabric, tucking in all my seam, my raw edges to go inwards, right? So that, let me not bore you with the process. Let me just do one for you to see, then I'll just do the remaining one off camera. Like I've joined this side, right? So I'm just going to move this point. So this is the waist side, right? So I'm going to sew. My lining is still right side facing right side for now, right? So I'm just going to be sewing the side seams using 1/4 of an inch sewing allowance, right? This is one of the easiest way to sew something there. So I'm just using this method because we still have beginners in the class and I want to carry everyone along, right? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing on all of those, right? I'm going to turn it over, then I'll turn it over and give it a nice press for you to see. So guys, I've gone ahead to insert my lining, right? So this was what I was saying the other time, that I wanted the fabric to like bend and go in like this, like, right? So I've also gone ahead to insert my darts, right? Likewise the back side. So I'm going to join the skirt part before I come back to work on the bodies, right? The upper side. So I'm going to measure my waist, right? Marking this out to know the allowance that I have. So I have 2 inches allowance, so I'm going to spread that 2 inches, one here, one here. So I'm going to mark out 1 inch like so. So I'm going to do the same thing to my hip line. I'll measure my hip line like so, right? So on this side I have 3 inches allowance, so I'm using 1.5 here, 1.5 here, like so. So likewise the knee side, I'm doing the same thing. I have 3 inches as well. I'm going to share it 1.5 here. Now initially when we were cutting, it was 2 inches allowance we left. So the reason why we have 1.5 now is because, if you remember, right, we sewed here with we sewed in our lining with 1/4 of an inch on both sides. That was what took away that half inch that we have. So I'm going to just go ahead and join my skirt. I'm going to sew along make sure that your hem is aligned. That stitch at the end of that seam, right? So I'm going to bring the other side of the back, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'll mark out those allowances that I had going on. So for the waist, you remember we had 1 inch allowance. For the hip, we had 1.5 inch allowance. For the knee, we also have 1.5 inch. Likewise, the hem, we have 1.5 inch. So I'm going to align those and sew it neatly. So here we go. Our part is almost done. So I'm going to join the zip allowance as well, right? So for the zip side, I'm going to measure my waist as well. So whatever I have, I'll mark where my waist is supposed to be. I'll move it to my hip side. This will help me to accentuate the curves on the dress, right? I'll mark my hip line. For the knee point, I'll do the same on the knee point. Right? So I'm just going to connect that point to the knee. Right? So I'll mark my zip, where my zip will extend to. Let me do 9 inches here. So I'll start sewing from there. My depth here I will stop because I want a slit there, but I don't want too much of skin outside, so I'm going to close that slit, right? When I do that, I'll sew the slit side down as well because I don't want skin. I want it to overlap. So I'm just going to grab this side, just the back side. I'm not pinning the front side as well, right? I'll just pin that point, flip it over, and I'll sew. So I'm going to show you what I did there when I turn it over. So here's our skirt, right? So this is what I did. So this is just to create this overlap here. can see, right? So I'm going to keep my skirts aside to do my blouse, but I'm going to iron this at this point, right? These are my front panels. I have them here. So I'm going to do the neckline first, right? I'll turn over the neckline, right side of the lining facing right side of the blouse, right? I'm going to be doing a little bit of modifications here. So I'm just going to be turning my lining over. I'm using half of an inch, but you can decide not to use half inch. Now I'm making notches. Then I'm going to top stitch. I'm just pushing all my sewing allowance to my lining side. So here we have it, right? This is what the modifications I said I was going to do, right? My side panel did not align to my center front panel here, but because is a halter neck dress, is totally okay, right? So I'm just going to trim off this side. But when you're doing this, right, you make sure that you measure that out, you check it, you test it out on your pattern to see if it aligns first before you start sewing. So because sometimes maybe the way you want to do your own might not necessarily be the same as mine, so that will give you a little bit of problems. So just test out your patterns first before you cut. Measure them out so you can see I'm still good, right? So I'm going to close here now, right? So I'm going to sew right side facing right side as well. I'll make sure that my dart points, the lining and the dress, I'll make sure it aligns, right? If you're going to be adding sleeve to this, there's no need to make it there's no need for this seam, right, at the moment, because there will be seam there, but mine right now is sleeveless, so that's why I have this going on. So I'm going to do the other side. Snipping through the seams so that when I'm ironing it, everything will lay flat and nice. I'm going to be turning this over. this is what we have, right? So I'm going to do the same thing for the back, and I'll also sew here in as well. I'll sew this side in using 1/4 of an inch as well. At this point, before you sew anything again, make sure you turn it over, right? If you're not careful, turning it over will now become a problem for you. So I try as much as I can to sew one side, turn it over, sew the other side, turn it over. So you see, this is it, right? So I'm just going to do the same thing for the back. I do the neckline, I top stitch, turn it over, do the armhole, top stitch, turn it over, and do the side, right? Then I'll iron this and the back neatly, then I'll come back and show you how to continue. So I have my panels, right? I've gone ahead to do the same thing that I did to the front. I did them to the back panels, right? So here I have them. I'm going to come over now to join my shoulders together, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck, you see this little space that I have here, I'm going to tuck in this side to go inside like that. So I'm just going to put my hands in between the lining and the of my front, right? The lining and the body part. Then I'll just tuck in a little bit here. This part is a little bit tricky, right? Or let me say difficult, I don't know, but you can see. So right side facing right side, I'm going to put this in as well. I'm just using my scissors to tuck it in, right? Now I'll put my hands inside that and grab the two sides that I've tucked in, right? I'll bring them out to the right side. I'm just going in to push in the back side to come out together like this. I'm just grabbing something to enable me bring out the back piece, right, on the inside. If you don't totally understand it, just hold on. I'll do the second side for you to see. So you see, this is the back side. It has come out. So I'm going to align them together with the front now so that I can sew. Flip it out now. Can you see? This is the wrong side, this is the right side. Everything has been sandwiched, right? So let me do the second side so that you can see once more. This is what I will do. When you're doing this, you have to be super careful, right? You're going to match right sides together, then I'm tucking this time around. I'm tucking in the front side. You can tuck in through any side, the back or the front, but I just discovered that tucking it through the back side would have been easier for me, right? So I'm just going to tuck in some parts of the back side. Then I'll bring this right side facing right side. I'll tuck it in. Then I'll bring it out to the wrong side of the garment. This is it, right? I'll just align that properly. Then I'm going to sew. Back stitch. So you can see this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So everything is properly fixed now. So I'm going to measure out my bodies, right? Then I'm going to sew my seam allowances together. I'm just going ahead to join here together, right? Then I'll come back, I'll join those sides, this side, then I'll join the upper bodies to the lower bodies, then I insert my zipper, right? So I'm just going in to sew my zipper, and this is the finished look of the dress. If you